Yo, this is Fantasy Fling with DFS Army, and this is your Week 8 review. Your Week 8 recap. We are recapping the Millie Maker, what won it, big DFS Army wins, and then cash lineup review. So let's hop into it. All right, let's get into the week in review. Big week for DFS Army VIPs. I know, there was a lot of chalk that completely busted on the slate. And, anytime that happens and you're eating some good chalk, like you're going to have some people that are definitely unhappy with how things went. But we still had some really good plays. Fade the chalk, as the DFS Army song goes. Fade the chalk, I unfriend you. What would Bobby Wow do? So we still had some people that faded chalk and were able to crush this week. So 6 picks, high dollar single entry guy crushes it. This was the early slate. DFS Army staff, 6K win for him. So shout out to 6 picks. And K Delapo won 20K. This was the showdown last night, the Sunday night game. So I think he posted in the Discord, hope it holds. There's no stat correction, but, with almost a 2-point lead there, luckily there was no stat correction and, would have had to have been a very bad stat correction to lose that one. So 20K, good to him. And then I swear to God, every week this year, I've been seeing Royal Cards tweet at the DFS Army account on X, absolutely crushed it this week. Profited every week of NFL with DFS Army. 1,900 in, 13K out, just killing it. And specifically with, looks like the 3 entry max here. So are we talking like the 555? I think that's what this is. 3 of the 555. And 50K to first, did not get first, but 110K. So really awesome stuff here. These are fun too. These winner take all 1K to first. Love those. And then last but not least, your boy won a pocket cup. It's been a while since I took down a large field tournament, with like over 1,000 entrants. So it was good to get back on the winning side. I've had so many like top 10 finishes this year and just hadn't got one, but got a pocket cup ticket. So the Super Bowl, going to be competing against 400 others for a chance at 100K, the top spot. So glad to get that one in. Ran out of real estate here. I also would have showed my lineup, but it was a Knicks to Franklin stack with Breece Hall, Derrick Henry, and Jonathan Taylor, Dallas Goedert at tight end. So was happy to get one. So anyways, good week for DFS Army VIPs. And if you guys like these breakdowns, let me know. Hit that like button. Let me know how the week went for you. Did you eat the Bijan chalk? Believe me, I ate a lot of Bijan chalk. But this is also why, I will never lock button a player because these things happen. I feel like once every 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to have a team that just completely no-shows. And it's just kind of like the movie Any Given Sunday. I remember growing up, that was something that my dad used to say, any given Sunday, any team can win. Any team, these are pro athletes. They show up to play. They stick it to the other guys. The other team doesn't show up to play or they get punched in the mouth. And that's exactly what happened with this stack right here. Miami, Tua to Waddle. And this is what's great about this stack. And honestly, I don't think I played a single Tua lineup just because we hadn't seen it and it's just been bad. And he goes to the media and he's talking and it's like, oh, please just stop talking. You just sound worse every time you open your mouth. But on this day, in this spot, this was the direct leverage off of the Bijan chalk that bombed in a smash spot against the Miami defense that was terrible against the run. And also Darnell Mooney at 4,400. Great opportunity with Kirk Cousins coming in. They had good connection last year. Well, they bombed. So complete chalk fail. The beneficiary of that was the other side, Miami obviously scored all the points. So they got into a negative game script. Bijan wasn't even catching any passes, really. So it was just all around terrible for the Chalk, but it was good for the contrarian stack on the other side. 0.4% owned for Tua. Not surprised. Jalen Waddle, I think, was a good play, but most people were not going to be on the Tua. I mean, less than 0.5% ownership. Crazy. James Cook was in a great spot. Breece Hall was in a great spot. I liked Breece Hall. The matchup was really good. I think I was triple the field on him with 18%. So, this was like one of those things like, yeah, he's active. He's a good player. He's going against a terrible run defense, a team that gives up the most fantasy points to opposing running backs. So I love the Breece Hall play here. Pittman, I thought Pittman was a sharp play. High team total, pretty low ownership. I think Pierce was out. I want to say Pierce was out. Xavier Hutchinson, direct leverage off of Dalton Schultz and Jalen Noel, who was getting about 10% ownership. So don't forget about Xavier Hutchinson, the other rookie that we were drafted in best ball. Love this pick. Kittle, did enough. And then Jonathan Taylor. So actually, when I think about this lineup was so correlated. Tua plus Jalen Waddle, James Cook plus Buffalo D with 17 points, by the way, against Andy Dalton. Like, what a great play. And, we probably should have seen that one coming. Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor, secondary stack right here. And then Xavier Hutchinson and George Kittle. So another ping pong stack. The only one-off in this lineup was Breece Hall. So this lineup was insanely correlated. So that was first place. And he had 150 lineups. Second place, his second lineup, he got 40th place with actually similar lineup to what I had. Bo Nix to Troy Franklin. He had Taylor, he had Breece Hall. He did the double tight end, though, with George Kittle and Cade Otton. So that kind of killed the lineup. Other than that, pretty good lineup. Not enough from Chase at 8,100. But overall, pretty good. Yeah, so, he had 3 in the top 100. So was on the right core of players. And I'm guessing he's probably going to we're going to look at his exposures real quick, BS Golfer. Probably going to have a good amount of like the same running back, same core running backs. 37% Jonathan Taylor, 66% Bijan. So won the Millie and still had 66% Bijan. And this is one of those things where when you look at it from a portfolio standpoint, he may not have he wasn't that hurt by Bijan because he didn't lock button him. And because 55% of the field played Bijan, he was over the field, but he wasn't like way over the field, right? Now the other side of that is like you can fade that player completely and you really leverage yourself if you fade a 55% player and half of the field is playing that guy, like you have just cut the field in half that essentially you are trying to beat for that top spot. However, when you're playing 150 and 66% of your lineups have Bijan Robinson, it's still the other 44%, which is 0.44 times, or the other, 34%. 34 times 150. You still have 50 lineups without Bijan. So that's how, he was able to hit that right combination because he still had a good amount of Bijan. Now, this is why you don't really want to lock button a player because you're going to have extreme swings. Like if they fail, your day is done. If you smash, obviously you put yourself in a great spot, but also 55% of the field played him. So, you put yourself in a good spot, but you still could lose because they were that so highly owned. But with the other 51 lineups that he didn't have, he gave himself a chance to get there and obviously was able to win it. Wanted to see, some of the other guys, like how much James Cook did he have? So he was over the field on James Cook, which is great. Over the field on JT, but pretty close to the field. And then Breece Hall, yeah. So 15% Breece Hall. So more than double the field, almost 3x the field with Breece Hall. And, it's just really about having that one lineup. Second place, single bullet. I play the Millie Maker every single week just because I want the sweat. And I have this thing where I'm like, if I don't play the Millie Maker, I feel like that's going to be the week that I would have won it, and I'll never know because I didn't play it that week. But you can win this. Look at this. I've seen several guys win this with a single bullet. And the top two of the top three players had a single bullet. Second had a Josh Allen to James Cook to Khalil Shakir. And yeah, I mean, they certainly played for the onslaught. The problem is you're rarely going to see Josh Allen and James Cook get a gotta have it score together. See, James Cook actually broke the slate. Like, they don't correlate well for their ceilings. And you have a 7,500 player, that's really what you need. And even saying all that, he was so very close. Second place with 217 points. But God, I mean, that's still 13 points out of first place, right? So let's see what third place did. DJ to Pittman and faded Saquon, or faded not Saquon, JT in this lineup. But that's the story this lineup is telling. It's a Daniel Jones game. It's a Michael Pittman game. I love the Saquon play. I had like 9% Saquon, so just under the field. But Saquon is like one of those examples of there are certain players that you just cannot full fade. I'll see people like tilting who, they're like, I have 0 of this player. And I'm like, okay, well, how many lineups are you playing? Are you playing, very small amount? Then I totally get it. If you're playing 150, why are you full fading a guy who is not chalk, who has a massive ceiling and is due for some positive regression? And oh, by the way, this is a 9K player last year who's now down to 7,600. So certainly could be something to think about. Like, you always want to get some exposure to guys like this, whether it's 5%, whether it's 10%. These are the guys that you eventually need. And the same could be said for James Cook. Like, why was James Cook so overlooked really in this spot with the high team total? I know Carolina had a good run defense, but seems like more of the field should have been on him a little bit more. Anyways, so let's look at these guys. Flacco double, Chase Brown, Jamar Chase. I am so happy that we're seeing some production from Chase Brown. My best ball teams with Chase Brown might actually have a shot, because I had a lot of best ball teams where I went Chase Brown, then JSN, and JSN has been pulling his weight in the third round, but like Chase Brown in the second is not. And hopefully we will get Chase Brown to continue on this production that he's had the past couple of weeks, and we'll start to see higher advance rates. Been advancing pretty well. I think it was like 25% last week. But we get Chase Brown going, it's gonna be significantly higher than that. So this is a Flacco double with Mason Taylor. You really wanted Breece. Well, no, maybe not. This lineup had, Breece 35 points, just like the raw points. But really what this lineup needed was someone else but Chase with a 21 pointer. Troy Franklin as a one-off, that's pretty awesome. And then New Orleans D with Shaheed there. So yeah, overall, I think this was a pretty good lineup for sure. So let's look at fifth place, and then there's a couple names that I recognize here in like the top 20 that I want to take a look at, see what they did, what their exposures were, and then fifth place was a Bo Nix, a Cortland Sutton, and that was basically the story. Not the right combination of running backs here. I mean, enough for 15K for sure, but not the combination to win it all. And then neither was Sutton or Devonta, but absolutely cooked everywhere else. Tampa D, 26 points. You know, in hindsight, we probably should have been more on Tampa D going against the Saints. Like, what was the field really thinking here? Going against the Saints, 1% ownership. That's crazy. All right, so I know that Stunna is a top player, so wanted to take a look here. A Tyler Huntley to Zay Flowers. Okay. Top, that's 23rd. James Cook, Brees Hall. A lot of the same guys that we're seeing. Let's take a look at his exposures. And then want to finish with Nerdy Tanner because Nerdy Tanner is one of the top DFS pros. Been on a heater as well. So that's Stunna looking like Chase, 25% the highest. Very flat other than that. I mean, we're seeing 19% Devonta Smith, which was actually a fade because it's half what the field had. Under on Sutton. Nothing high at receiver, like outside of Chase. And I think he was, I mean, he was actually a little under on Chase. But at running back, James Cook, Brees Hall, Derrick Henry, all over 25%. All over the field. For over 5x almost 5x the field on Brees Hall. So I love that. I mean, that's a lot. And that is how you get to, top 20 in the millie. By being flat in a lot of other spots and then just kind of picking a few spots, a handful of spots where you want to be right, where you want to be heavy and being right. So James Cook, Brees Hall, a lot of positive leverage here. Derrick Henry, Saquon, 2x the field on Saquon. So he absolutely crushed the running back room here. The only, obviously, and he was under on Bijan. So that's kind of the thing. Like, 40% of Bijan under the field. So that was a good spot to be under the field. And then J.K. Dobbins, so tilting. And, me and Geek, we had our draft battles giving crap about J.K. Dobbins. And I think the process was right as far as like the matchup, but also it's the leak is that Sean Payton is so unpredictable with his running backs. So even though J.K. Dobbins had like over 100 rushing yards, RJ Harvey gets all the goal line carries. So RJ Harvey gets the tutties, 3 touchdowns. All right. So and then at quarterback, Knicks, under on Knicks, and just very flat. No one over 15% in quarterback. So good on him. And then let's take a look at Nerdy Tanner, and then we will wrap this one up. 149 unique lineups for Nerdy Tanner. Ja'Marr Chase was the top exposure. Let's take a look at his top lineup. First and foremost, there we go. Bo Nix to Troy Franklin. No bringbacks. Brees Hall, Chase Brown, Ja'Marr Chase. So game stack there with Brees Hall, Chase Brown, Ja'Marr Chase. 2 running backs from the same game, but they both catch passes. So I love that. And then, just not enough from Chase and Flowers, but like love the lineup here. Saquon Barkley correlated with Philly D. Kyle Pitts in a good spot. And honestly, especially with Mooney getting all that chalk and Bijan all that chalk, like this was a great spot for Kyle Pitts, and I love this play here. Second lineup, Daniel Jones stacked with Taylor and Josh Downs. So just going for the onslaught. QB plus running back plus wide receiver. This one was crazy. Jalen Hurts plus Saquon plus Devonta Smith plus Dallas Goedert. So Hurts plus 3. So definitely not like keep making any types of rules for quarterback with to not be with the running back, because especially Hurts, like that's the extreme version. Like Hurts and Barkley, like Hurts is a running quarterback, touch push probably negatively correlates as far as a ceiling game with Saquon Barkley, but still those were some of his top lineups having those guys in there. Okay, and let's look at his exposure. So Chase, Olave, Darnell Mooney, Devonta Smith. So a good amount of Darnell Mooney, 28%. I had too much Mooney as well. Some contests I saw him as high as 25%. So in the Millie, which makes sense. I think in the contests like the Millie, you tend to get like more casuals who are not, they put in their lineup. They're not going to go back and like change it. It's not as like sharp of a contest as like if you did, like a high dollar or, even mid stakes contest with a bunch of sharps. Like Mooney is going to be higher percentage in those contests versus the Millie. So just a few spots where he went heavy. Jalen Noel, he was 10%. Jaden Higgins, and I think I said that wrong earlier. Xavier Hutchinson is not a rookie. Jaden Higgins was the rookie. But Hutchinson had the big game. Half the field on Courtland Sutton. And it looks like he didn't have, am I seeing this right? He didn't have any Franklin. So basically just played Courtland Sutton, Evan Ingram, and then was just, like, I'm not worried about the Broncos pass catchers outside of Courtland Sutton. I'm not guessing which one of these guys is going to go off. Less than 1% on Xavier Hutchinson, so looks like probably one lineup. A lot of Kyle Pitts. So I like that. I want Mooney, but I also think Kyle Pitts is the guy that really, like, I should take my hard stand on. And then under on Bijan. So kind of same thing. Not full fading Bijan, but positive leverage there because minus 20% of what the field was on a guy that completely failed. HN, double the field, under on Jonathan Taylor. A lot of Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey bombed as well. Faded Henry, Knicks. So 25% Knicks. Daniel Jones, 26%. So I'm curious. 25% Knicks, and then how much Sutton did he have? 12% Sutton. So he had to have had. Oh, there's Troy Franklin, 14%. I missed that earlier. Okay. I was going to say, this is a top lineup. God, I swear. I'm blind. I need to get my eyes checked, I guess. He was all the way at the top. I just basically overlooked it. So I'm guessing that there were no naked Knicks lineups, because when I when I originally saw that, and I thought he just had Sutton. Okay, here's a naked Knicks lineup. So that does make sense. I was wondering if he just ran some Knicks lineups naked, and that's exactly it. This one right here. But really, with Knicks throwing 4 touchdowns, you wanted to stack Knicks. So that is going to wrap it up for the MME strategy portion of the show. Last thing, cash lineup review. So, I preach this in cash a lot. Like, you want to not get cute in cash. Like, you want to play the best plays, the guys that have the best matchups. They have the best projections, and the field is like all over it. So Bijan Robinson was basically a free square. So I actually won like 80% of my head-to-heads. It did not hurt you playing Bijan Robinson because I think at double ups he was like 88% owned. So, and my cash games, I played a bunch of head-to-heads, and I'm pretty sure like every head-to-head that I played, everyone had Bijan. So this is not like, this was a free square. This did not hurt you. However, on the flip side of that, if you don't play Bijan and he absolutely erupted and had a Jonathan Taylor game, like it's going to be very hard to hit the cash line when the entire field is playing them. So you just want to play the free squares in great spots. Darnell Mooney was essentially a free square. Like, it kind of sucked because I changed my cash lineup. I had Jalen Noel, and then I changed it to our Darnell Mooney, and then I went down to the Giants C to do so. And doing that left me with less of a cash score, but I still think the process was right. You got a wide receiver who had connection with Kirk Cousins dating back to last year. He's 4,400. He's expected to get wide receiver 1 volume. And Atlanta's expected to win, and Miami doesn't have a good defense. But that's kind of one of those things where the results weren't there. Was the process right? I think it was. At the end of the day, like, these are events that can sometimes just be a flip of a coin because we don't know which team is going to show up. Miami, I mean, there's talk of like them benching Tua, Mike McDaniel getting fired, people wanting to see the Miami offense with a quarterback other than Tua so that they can run the Mike McDaniel offense. And then what do you know? Any given Sunday, Miami comes out and scores 34 points. So that's just kind of how it goes. But I still think it was process-wise, it was good to play Mooney. I loved Devonta Smith. He was a core for me with AJ Brown being out. Jamar Chase was a core for me with Sauce being out. These are perfectly acceptable cash scores from both of these guys. Good enough. Optimals were giving me Chase Brown. I like the spot going against the Jets. And then same thing with Henry. I liked Henry going against Chicago. I thought they would try to lean on him. And, wasn't a great spot without Lamar, but at $6K, I still liked the salary. And then, Knicks, it just made too much sense to go to Knicks in that spot at home based on his projections. So that was my cash lineup. Rolled out, I think, like I said, won like 80% of the head-to-heads. Had Hurts and Knicks. Preferred Knicks based on salary, but I think Hurts was a great play as well. Jonathan Taylor. So, I mean, all these plays, with the exception of Rachaad White and Bijan, who just totally failed as a core, ended up doing pretty well. So I did prefer Chase Brown, though, just on this $1,000 discount from Rachaad White. So ended up going with him over Henry, or him and Henry over Rachaad White. And then with all the ownership that Bijan was getting in that spot from the discount from JT, preferred Bijan, but clearly, we learn anything this year is when it's between Jonathan Taylor and another back, always choose Jonathan Taylor. Jamar Chase core, Devonta Smith core, those ended up working out in cash. There was not an absolute smash for Darnell Mooney at his salary with London out, but he was so cheap that it didn't even matter. And then Alton and Schultz were the guys. Texans and Bengals D, I thought were the better plays over the Giants, but ended up going with the pay down. It's one of those things where the answer to the test in cash more times than not, if you look at it over like the course of the season, not any given week, is to pay down at tight end and defense. And that'll lead you the right way most of the time so that you're paying up for guys like Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith in this spot to give you that floor. You know, the Hurts, the Knicks, as opposed to going with a $4,400 Kirk Cousins and, you know, the Taylors, the Bijans, the Achans of the world. You know, more times than not, like that's what you're paying up for in cash, and that'll lead you the right way most weeks. But yeah, good week in cash. Don't have to be perfect to profit, and that's the main idea. So we'll continue to review these contests. You saw the winners. If you want to join DFS Army, use code FANTASYFLING, get you 10% off a VIP subscription. The link will be in the video description, and that's going to do it, guys. So thanks for joining me for another weekend review. We will see you all next time.